let me do this quick because it's pissing me off now. I'll deal with the Becky issue later. So anyway, I got up this morning and I thought, fuck the neighbours. I planned on Friday to go and do a car boot up on the A1, A3. But the challenge was, I obviously got the bed finally moved, and people don't understand that when I start a project, I have to go a certain way and do things in a certain order and things like that. And I pretty much know what I'm doing because I'm certainly not what was the box stuff. So including my car, which is packed, I literally now have out here in my garage a garage sale going on. Now, this money is, as you know, I have relaunched the website for Forced Adoption Exposed. I'm pretty much asking everybody to bring their stories in through Forced Adoption Exposed. And the reason that I need to do this all again is because, as you know, I've had problems with laptops, phones, things like that. And I've been doing this 11 years since obviously launching Challenge Britain and Step Up Britain. But it was 2013 that Aaron, Faith and Court had finished when I then went out onto the campaign as something completely different, but also in the same direction, and not actually realising that I had fallen into the biggest problem here in the Great Britain, and that is our multi-agency framework. This morning, I didn't manage to do the car boot, so I thought, okay, I'm going to set up and do it this way. And I walked into town to go and get a coffee and some donuts and just some bits of breakfast and to get some Monster and wake me up a bit because I haven't actually slept for 2 days now. And there was a boy, he's 24, laying on the floor. Obviously assumed to be a student drunk that had passed out on the floor. And I spoke to the cleaner that was stood with him. He said he's got a friend around here somewhere. There's an ambulance coming. His mate then turned up and said it's been 2 hours. And it's been 45 minutes since somebody else has called. So I rang and said, look, it appears that there is a spinal fluid issue with this lad. And it might not be what you think it is. He can't feel his legs. We don't know. I can't move him. I said, if he's just drunk, I can get him up. Yeah, I said, so you've got two choices. You can either assume, and it turned out that he was a rugby player and he had done something to his back and ended up with spinal fluid injury. And he had actually been airlifted twice before with having a similar issue. So, of course, on that decision, for me, I refused to move somebody, okay? I'm not medically trained. I'm not a paramedic. I'm not a doctor. So I wouldn't even move a finger. I wouldn't even move them, you know, if there was a neck injury, especially somebody like me. If somebody twisted my neck and I had a subluxation, it's going to double hurt, yeah? You're going to be actually snapping my neck, yeah? Now, if I've then got the the vagus nerve trapped or any of my spinal fluid trapped, it can cause paralysation. Now, he'd been left for so long, so I rang through and I said, look, you know, I'm passing by, apparently an ambulance been called. And so they were like, look, we're really busy. I said, I get you're really busy, but there was a situation now, and it was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, he's been here for like 2 hours on the floor and he's cold. So I took my jacket off, my underlayer jacket off, put it over him. Obviously, I couldn't move his fingers because I couldn't risk that there might be an injury, and I'm not qualified to deal with that. Another 45 minutes. And this is emergency responding. And this was emergency responding with a previous, and they would have had his name, they would have had his date of birth, because I got it from his friend. They would have been able to see on the system that he had them. And you know what? As soon as the paramedics arrived, they did the jump up drunk thing. And they literally bolted him straight up. If anybody had done that to me and there had been discs separated, thinking, oh, you know, say I actually went out and I went and actually had a drink, yeah. Now, I don't take medication as it is, but I do sometimes do when I'm, you know, doing things like this. So if I was to have a drink, I'm not a drinker, it would hit me quite quickly, yeah. So if I was passed out on the floor and people automatically assumed, drunk, and then they bolted me up, you would be sued, basically. Just like everybody's being sued for what they've put me and my children through for the last 11, well, longer than that, really. So anyway, on Friday, I sent, and this is why it annoys me that I've just had 3 days off, because I didn't know whether I was going to need this live for the police and social coming, because as you know, I've been trying to do this for the last 3 weekends properly, because car boot season was coming to an end. So I've been trying to do this. Now, the boys are upstairs with their dad, right? Because 1, they're not well. 2, we don't think they do need to get some fresh air, but I'll take them down to the beach where they're not going to see kids later and they can just run around and get some air. But I'm not going to bring them down here because straight away the kids will want to come over and see the boys. So I'm going to literally be here all day uploading things. As you can see, I've got loads to unpack. I thought it was going to rain, so I didn't. So, as you know, I go skipping, yes? Not skipping as in skipping. I don't anymore because I'm in a different situation. It was a needs must thing. At the end of the day, I came here from the streets. I came here from living in a car. While I was out doing what I was doing prior to meeting Dean and having Elijah and Shiloh, I had had my children taken too, and I had been kicked out onto the streets. At first, I didn't even have a car, and I was actually just train hopping, carrying my paperwork around with me, and I had a couple of different cars. I was like going and working in bars, picking up glasses to get money to keep things going. Some of the photographers, whenever we used to get to the wake-ups, would give me 20 quid for the petrol money to get to the next one. And I was going from London to Brighton to Bournemouth to Bristol to Birmingham to Blackpool to Manchester, Liverpool. A lot of the things were in Birmingham, and it was really difficult because obviously, as you know, train tickets are like 50, 60, 70 quid if you're going other side, 10, 20 quid if you're local. So when you've got no money and you're not on benefits and you're literally having to make money because you're on the streets, you've got no fixed abode, you've had your kids taken, you're not very employable. You're certainly not very employable while you're walking around with a megaphone. Don't forget, not only did I shut down like motorways and bridges and involved with I'd never scaled, but I was with scalers that went up. And all of this stuff, and you're having to make sure you're eating. I was having to go to soup kitchens. Thank you to the Goose in Bristol that looked after me when I found out I was pregnant with Elijah. Unfortunately, I fell back into multi-frame agencies in Bristol, and the fear of Elijah being taken was fear that I couldn't cope with. Having 2 children, such as Aaron and Faith, taken at the age of 2 and 3 is different. I know what they look like. I have images of their faces. I know their character. I know their smile. I breastfed them. I nurtured them. I slept in bed with them. I clothed them. I changed their nappies. I have memories of them. I have days out. I have photographs. To have a baby taken immediately from the womb without even knowing what that child looks like, not even getting an opportunity to potentially even see, maybe just for a second when you've just probably had gas and air, maybe pethidine. I couldn't imagine, because when you see babies, all babies pretty much look alike, don't they? If all of a sudden every baby that was born was in a magazine and you had to find yours, it would be really difficult. But if you were looking at a child that you know, it's easier. You know their features, you know what changes, what doesn't change. There might even be an identifying mark that you would be able to tell them by. Yes, they grow up another 10 years, another 20 years, another 30, 40, 50, and people change and they don't look the same. When I walk down the streets, my trauma looks for a 2 and a 3-year-old. Aaron and Faith are not 2 and 3, so my rationality looks for 10 and 11-year-olds, yeah? It's really difficult to jump them 2 ages to what Aaron and Faith would be like. Like at the moment, like I've just sent a cease and desist to social. I've told everybody the only person that knocks on my door is the postman dropping off my ransom note from the people that have paid money. Flintshire County Council have got 26,000 and something per my children. They also got a lot of money for them each week. The foster carers were getting, for 2 children. So they were being paid for 2 children. They get about between £500, £600, £700 a week per child. Don't forget the fact that the judge that was wanking a lot, he was also paid to kidnap my children. He was paid a wage to attend to be in court. He was also paid a subsidiary to sign off on the adoption. That council then got that money for my children. The adopters also, prior to me going in to say, look, stop what you're doing, they turned around and they'd paid off of their mortgage. They were receiving money all the time that they had Aaron and Faith as an allowance, and then obviously they got their adopters allowance and were able to clear off their mortgage. They were able to, I don't know the lifestyle that they're in. And I think that's what I find so difficult and why it is so difficult to me to move on, because say I have a really good weekend with Dean and Elijah and Shiloh. I feel guilty that Liam and Daniel are not part of that. And I feel guilty that Aaron and Faith are not part of that. Then I think, well, Liam and Daniel are doing really well. They're living their lives. But I know that Liam and Daniel have had to deal with this in a way that men, boys, they were 15 and 13 when their brother and sister were taken. No person who knew me, even bothered to sort of come forward and go, whoa, hang on a minute. We know Kellie. Kellie wouldn't do anything that would put her children at risk. Not like that. She works with homeless. She does these bits. She's the way. But I tell you what, one thing, she can go from being pretty chilled, pretty calmed now, that if all of a sudden someone come running around that corner and there was a problem, I got 2 chairs here. I'm gone bang like that. So I can protect myself. I can safeguard myself. Now, the thing that I challenge myself at is difficult, is putting a price on my head. Putting a price on my head for my hourly rate. I have basically told social care that any person who knocks on my door who is not invited or booked in to speak to me or see me is charged on an hourly rate. I've told them that the first 3 minutes of intervening in my life has been charged at an hour. The first hour they got free. If they contact me again, they will be charged at my hourly rate. Now, please do remember, I'm a qualified youth worker. I have a degree in psychology. I'm a qualified interventionist. I'm a qualified it's classed as not corporate coaching, but personal development coaching. Qualified netball coach, qualified football coach. I'm qualified at a lot of things, but my body doesn't work to the rate that I need to work at. Say like this, unpacking the bag. I'm sure any one of you right now could have probably very quickly re-unpacked the car, reorganised it and got off and gone to the car boot, unpacked everything the other side, and probably done what I've been trying to do over the space of one weekend or potentially one long bank holiday weekend. I've torn my shoulder. I'm seeing a chiropractor and I'm getting trolled by people who are going exactly of what social services have done. Now, when I slipped my discs, when I picked up the car seat with Faith, the challenge was then, who has my kids? Who has my children? If you're